Alright. Do we want to do any playful banter? I don't even know.
I think
I'm
we've
excited.
bantered enough.
This is
We're
my
good.
jam.
Yeah,
This
This is the episode I've been waiting for.
Yeah. Because it's... Alright, everybody. It's Friday, March 4th. I don't even know. I don't know what day it is.
It's Friday, March 4th, 2016, and you're listening to On the Heels Wrestling Podcast. I'm Kyle.
God damn it. Easy, Kyle.
All right, let's do that over again.
I feel like I one took that one if you guys weren't dying.
Man, you just
Sorry.
fucking... Damn
Whitney's
it.
got laryngitis.
Shit is
Ray
going
can't speak.
wrong.
I became a chain smoker over the last month. Sorry.
Wow.
It's Friday, March 4th, 2016, and you are listening to On the Heels Wrestling Podcast. I'm Ray.
I'm Brittany.
I'm Kyle. We're three co-workers who love pro wrestling, and this podcast gives us a space to talk about the aspects of pro wrestling as deeply and nerdily as we like, without any judgment of people who work with us and decide our salaries and positions.
So this podcast is about giving you concise...
That was thorough.
That was thorough. This podcast is about giving you consistent, bite-sized commentary on the world of wrestling, focused primarily on WWE's main roster and some NXT, primarily today, where we'll definitely be talking about some NXT, and we'll occasionally touch on indies and international.
Every week we'll either recap the previous Raw, NXT, pay-per-view, whatever, or we'll hold a roundtable discussion on a particular topic. This week we're going to have a roundtable discussion.
I already kind of spoiled it.
Yeah. On the women's division of WWE and NXT.
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's going to be tough to keep Brittany under control for this one.
We only have a half
Good.
hour, right?
We only have
Like,
a half hour.
Oh, shit.
But I think we can get it done.
I think a half hour is long enough for like one of my rants about this
Right.
whole...
Unfortunately, we're going to start a little bit with the older stuff, which will give Ray and I a chance to say at least one or two things
Hey, there you
before this becomes the Brittany cast.
There you go.
And the thing we wanted to touch on first was, the Attitude Era, the women's wrestling was pretty terrible, right?
Yep.
For the most part, mostly because the Attitude Era was where a lot of the over-sexualization stuff happened. But there were some glimmers of hope. Trish and Lita had some epic
incredible
matches.
Yeah, Trish Stratus was... Man, I wish she was in this generation now because she was far and above one of the best women wrestlers I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it was a great pairing with her and Lita. I think they were her, maybe Molly Holly, but honestly,
there were some other ones in there too.
There were a few, but it really was more
two.
about the bra and panty matches,
Yeah.
the lingerie matches.
Well, even in their two cases, they both had breast reduction after leaving WWE.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, even though they were, the top performers wrestling-wise, they still had to, pander to that bullshit and have, their bodies modified, which is pretty crappy.
Now that we're in, it's 2016, has that perception of the divas and the women's wrestlers, has it changed enough from what we had in the 90s and the Attitude Era?
So, quality bar-wise, it is immensely better. I don't think
I would
anyone
agree with
could
that.
dispute that. Unfortunately, from conversations, we've had with various different people, some people are fully embracing this women's wrestling and it's how high it's risen, and others are not even opening their minds to it.
So I was at the airport waiting for a flight and was watching some episode of NXT, and there was this little kid, I think he was Russian, he's standing there and he kind of looks over the shoulder and sees us watching NXT, and we start talking about these guys. It's like, oh, that guy, he's big scary, and it's like we keep talking all this stuff, and then they feature a women's match and he's like, women shouldn't be fighting. And it's like this kid who's friggin' maybe 6 or 7, and it broke my heart that this is likely an actual thing, that maybe it's a cultural thing, maybe it's just how you were raised and whatnot. People legitimately don't like seeing women wrestle, and I think that's one of the problems we run into with Vince.
Yep.
It's on the side of the action figure boxes, the women can never fight the men. Yep. And the women cannot be heels or faces. They're purely women. They don't have the ability to be multiple characters. And I think purely with having someone like Sasha on the show, it breaks all of that.
Yeah.
And Charlotte, we
Oh my
talked
God.
in the last episode about her heel abilities.
Oh my God.
They are, and you got to give them props here, they are letting her do that.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, the way they've run heels, female heels, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, is really the same damn gimmick, the same damn heel gimmick, which is, you're just jealous. like blah blah blah.
I got this guy.
Yeah, and it's like
they basically the only heel gimmick they allowed was you can be a bitch.
Yeah.
But whereas Charlotte is just, she's being Kevin Owens style, just mean and clever and awesome and calculating and like a true heel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Which
it's the
is
same
fantastic.
thing with Sasha. Like, it is reminiscent to Eddie Guerrero, and like, man, she has so much damn charisma, and she is playing it so well.
But she's not infallible either.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
That's the part I like about Sasha the most, is that even though she's confident in herself, you can see the cracks.
Yeah.
I think it's a step in the right direction, but there still is a lot of work to do.
Yeah. We're seeing better matches, like to the point where there are so many good wrestlers on the roster now. We've openly talked about, well, do they add a second belt? Is there a women's tag? Like, they're gonna encroach, especially with NXT continuing to fill the ranks with qualified wrestlers.
Yep.
At some point, you'll kind of have too many, and what do you do then?
Well, there
right?
was a bit of time where there were multiple women's matches on Raw.
Yep.
It was a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because you'd have a match that went about 10 minutes, and then you'd have another one that went 5. And it's like the fact that there were 2 women's matches on a show was really interesting. And then they started to tie it along the lines of, here's the one that we know you legitimately care about as fans because it features Charlotte and Becky and all this. And then here's the one that's capturing what's currently happening on Total Divas.
Yep.
That friggin' Alicia Fox unfollowed Paige on all of her social media accounts, so now the two are feuding. And it's like, this is the problem, right? That there can only be so much progress when you have a show called Total Divas.
Yeah. I mean, that wraps up in a nutshell. I
Yeah.
mean, that's almost so good a statement, like, we could just end the podcast, but we won't.
Yeah.
But, gotta give props to that because that sums it right up. I mean, it's kind of like when you talk about any type of inequality socially, right? Like, you can't have progress with something else there just gumming up the works that harkens to the old closed-minded thinking, right?
Yeah, because if you think about it, like, male wrestlers are superstars.
Yeah.
And it's a positive word in every sense of the word. And
Good guy or bad guy, you're a superstar.
You're a superstar. Whereas Diva, though it has some positive connotations, it also has negative ones.
I think it has more negative than positive,
I mean,
honestly.
I can't even think of what a positive diva would be, other than, I guess, the implication that
Brie
you're
Bella?
either rich or successful or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I don't even know. I hear that and I cringe. And you look at, oh man, Kotaku had this awesome article a while back just simply comparing the belts between Raw and NXT.
Oh man,
And
in my mind, I was exactly
your wife
thinking about
also
that.
brought this up when she started watching wrestling a little bit with you. Or it was like, you have this belt that looks like a legit belt on NXT. Like, sure, it's kind of like purpley and silvery, but it looks like a legit belt. Like, I wouldn't mind wearing that if I was a champion. And then you've got the butterfly belt. It's pink. It says Diva. Like, it would just be painful to
even
wear.
within
on
both
top
of
of it
their
being
brands,
dumb.
right? The names of the titles are different, and now that they've had a lot more bleed over, it's. I mean, even here, the ring announcer, the NXT Women's Champion, is participating in this Divas match.
Yes.
What the? What?
Yeah.
Right. But there's some cases where, in the case of Carmella, where she says diva in a very positive way. She's like, I am the most fabulous diva in NXT. And in that case, because I really like Carmella. I like how she's still part of Enzo and Cass, but she's broken herself out into being her own character who can stand on her own. And in that regard, that's okay where I'm okay with diva being used, because that's part of her character.
Yeah.
It's not a brand, right? But then you have people like Sasha who does this a lot on social media, but she does not refer to it as diva.
Women's.
Right.
Yeah, she says, I want to win the women's title. I'm a wrestler.
Right.
Like, she says all this kind of stuff. So when they started giving her more mic time on Raw and she said she wanted the Divas title, I'm like, no, this was your opportunity.
Well, yeah.
Like, something in me is hoping that she will win the belt at WrestleMania, come into Raw on Monday after, and drop it in a trash can and pull out something that at least looks legit.
Alundra Blues.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me,
That'd be
it's,
pretty rad.
you know, I understand as far as why Vince did not want his wrestlers to be called wrestlers. I get it.
It's
I
sports
understand.
entertainment.
Yeah,
It's fine.
Fine. And, you know, superstars, it's a great word. That's fine, you know, whatever. But the fact that I would much rather have there be male and female superstars.
You
And
just
let's
call them
leave it at that.
superstars. You don't
Yeah,
even
just
need
call
the
them all
gender.
superstars. Because, I mean, like, I think it minimizes the work and all the stuff that they put in, the women wrestlers put in, in order to do this really, really difficult job.
Yeah.
So one thing I kind of want to talk about is the WWE has been slowly but surely kind of recognizing the problems in the women's division. And that kind of started off with AJ Lee.
Let's talk about that hashtag.
Oh, man.
So the whole Give Divas a Chance thing basically started because AJ was talking shit with Stephanie on Twitter.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, like, this is kind of like a CM Punk thing. Like, you don't know if this is real or staged. But she starts mentioning, like, because Stephanie's saying all these inspirational things about women and business and blah, blah, blah. And AJ's like, then why do your women make significantly less money than your men when they sell just as much merchandise? And she just outright says it on Twitter. And I'm like, whoa, this is nuts. And it's like, was she told to say this? I don't know. Like, she's right.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the salaries that get leaked occasionally, like, I know people who work in games that make significantly more money than Nikki Bella. And it's like, I hate Nikki Bella, but holy shit, she's on the road 300 days out of the year, just had crazy neck surgery, is probably never wrestling again. There's no way that she should only be making as much as she is.
And she sells a lot of merch.
A lot of merch, right?
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
It always blows us away at live shows how much of her merch is being worn.
Like Bella shirts there are, and it's like these girls aren't getting a cut of that.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, they're probably getting some money from the Total Divas show, but I'd rather they get it for wrestling than they would for a reality show. That's not actually reality. I hate calling it a reality show.
Oh man, you just mentioning the Paige Alicia thing just made me super sad because that's where Paige is now.
Yeah. No, like Paige definitely. I don't want to say she sold out because that feels kind of.
She was forced to do something that she really didn't want to do.
Yeah.
You know, unlike AJ Lee, where AJ Lee was just like, nope, I'm out, bye.
Right.
Paige had to kind of swallow a really tough pill and
it
go into
stinks
Total
because I
Divas.
felt like she was like the
She was
lone
the start
bastion
of
like,
the actual Divas Revolution.
Yeah.
Paige was the start of it because she was the first NXT woman to get moved up.
Right.
Yep.
And she was the champion when it happened.
Yep.
And she won the title from AJ on her first night on Raw.
Yep.
So it's insane that now she's just worried that Alicia Fox unfollowed her on Twitter. Like, it's come to that. Like, Soraya Knight and the Knight family, like Brittany Knight, all of them, like, that family is too good to be doing this kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's just super bummer.
So-
like, they
so-
even set up a wrestling angle for her eventual Divas downfall. Like, it was just...
Here's the thing that kind of pisses me off about the supposed Divas Revolution. So, how they did it on NXT really showcased that we can do a whole damn show with all the women wrestlers.
Absolutely.
Like, at the time, with Sasha Banks, with Charlotte, with Becky, with Bayley, like, their mid-card was good.
Yes.
With any, like, WWE or NXT, the mid-card, you know, it's hit or miss with NXT. With WWE, it's shit. And with...
no, you're not wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, like... So, for me, I felt like the Divas Revolution on NXT was legitimate and a thing. When it came to WWE, it's like, oh, we're going to have this revolution. And really, it's the same old shit. We're still only focused on the title and not the mid-card. And the mid-card is now
Even the
Total
title
Divas.
was messed up. I mean, it reminded me of just the classic story of a big company that buys out a startup who's doing the thing they want to do because they don't want to compete.
Right.
For a while, it felt like, oh man, I hope they don't promote that person because then they don't get to be the thing I liked in NXT anymore.
Right. It's the same thing that the male wrestlers in NXT are facing. Like, you hope that your favorite female wrestler in NXT doesn't get promoted. Like, I'm terrified for when Bayley actually gets promoted.
Yep.
Because I don't know how you could screw that up. Her character is John Cena.
Yeah.
But they will find a way to do it.
Yep.
And that's the unfortunate thing. One of the things that also sucks is just kind of the whole way it happened. Like, I'm very happy they all got moved up because it had this moment of this is actually changing. It's not just Charlotte's going to come up and then just get rolled into everything else. But putting them in the factions just sucked.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And and I think they forgot. It's not just that the women are good wrestlers, but the women were characters in their own right.
Yeah.
And putting them in the groups where you had the submission sorority, whatever it was.
Man. That was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't think about that name.
And Team Bad and the Bella group or whatever with starring Alicia Fox.
And split them all up too. Like they didn't even keep them all together.
No,
right?
they
Like
didn't.
if they kept them all together, they could have sort of stayed true to
Well,
themselves.
they wanted people to at least give Naomi and Tamina a chance. which is why I think they put Sasha in that group.
It felt a little bit to me like the old NXT. Like, what if we put them with actual superstars? And like it felt like a mentorship. Like, well, like, what the hell?
No,
like,
those NXT women would be mentoring everyone else on the main roster, with the exception of like Natalya.
Yeah. Oh man, I miss Natalya.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, that left a sour taste in all of our mouths, the way that was handled. And also just, not only was that kind of botched, but it only really now just ended with the Sasha
They finally
Team Bad
ended
breakup,
Team Bad.
right?
Yeah. Finally. I mean, there's still some residualness hanging out with Naomi and Tamina, but I think from the perspective it is, like, you could have someone start right now and they wouldn't really notice the whole Team Bad not being a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is 6
It was fun. I will say this. I liked Team Bad on social media with the New Day.
Oh, yeah, they were great.
It was so much fun. There was a lot of videos.
So, like, right there, like, they didn't even run with that.
Yeah.
Like, they at least
that's where they're
acknowledged
failing,
that
right?
New Day sells merch and, like, people like them. Give yourself a win off of, like, work you did that was actually effective.
So,
and, like, let them sort of coattail New Day a little bit and then, go off on their own, right?
So, I kind of want to bring up a tangent question about the topic of social media and kind of what it does for characters in wrestling. Because they do a lot of like, oh, this is trending on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. They rarely ever mention Instagram on Raw. And it's only when like, oh, look, The Rock's in town. When it's something that's like relevant to storyline, right?
Yeah.
Or Dean Ambrose did this thing. But there is so much stuff happening on Instagram, especially with the new women's wrestlers. Like, I follow Charlotte and I follow Sasha, and they have so much going on. And I think it's one of those, you have the old guard of WWE, you have these writers in the back who are old fogies and they don't know how social media works, and then you have Sasha who's like 23 years old on Instagram, right? Yep. So they probably don't have the restrictions on Instagram that they do on Twitter, so they're able to actually grow their characters, which is why you have a scenario where New Day and Team Bad can do this cool thing, because there's nobody getting in the way.
Yeah, they only have official mandates on how their Twitter behavior works.
And how many hashtags they need to use there.
But they're doing
blah, blah, blah.
whatever they want on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's working out pretty well. Including breaking kayfabe, right? Xavier Woods riffing on how cool it was to get put through the table the first time from the Dudleys on Instagram.
Yeah.
Right? Or the Final Fantasy Photoshop thing that he made.
Oh my god, with the trombone.
Yeah. So,
but it's like there was one Sasha had a while back that was like, all I want for Christmas, and it had a paper championship belt like we all make when we're kids.
Yeah.
And it just says women's champion on it.
So good.
And it's like she just puts that on Instagram and you're like, dude, that's
you're
on the main roster. Like, can you do that?
Yeah, you're now talking a little bit of crap about the way Vince is doing business. So,
it's interesting.
Because they don't pay attention to that instant grams thing.
Yeah, what is this Snapchats? So I think most fans would agree that changing the Divas title to the women's title is definitely a huge step. But outside of that, what does the WWE do to improve the women's division?
I know that they will never do it, but having intergender matches would be excellent.
Yeah.
I think it opens up the storylines for both the men and the women.
Lucha Underground has been doing it for now 2 seasons.
Everybody does it. It's not just like a Lucha Underground thing. Like, even independent promotions. Like, you have Joey Ryan and his now fiance, like, are a tag team partner in the indies. So it's something that happens. Like, you don't have a lot of women in an independent promotion. They have to wrestle men. They grow up wrestling men. This isn't like a new thing, right? That's like, oh, it's breaking territory. Like, no, it's a thing. Just let it happen.
Yep.
What about the potentially terrible situation, mentioning the Joey Ryan thing? Vince sees that and he's like, I'll let you have your intergender matches so that they could have romance storylines.
No, what you'd end up actually having is you'd have Cena and Nikki versus Brie and Daniel Bryan. That's what would have happened.
That would have been interesting.
I'd take it all back.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically what I'm saying is we don't trust them in intergender matches, but they should totally be legit. Sexy Star versus Chavo and those kind of matches.
I feel like it's something
awesome.
That's not even on the table.
Right, yeah.
And if you at least talk about it, you could potentially get some interesting storyline out of it.
So tag titles is a thing we've referenced a couple times. I think we all think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's an easier way to solve a lot of the mid-card, because here's the thing. In order to have tag titles, you have to have multiple teams.
Right.
That's at least 8 divas, 8 women wrestlers. Like, at
Don't
least...
say the D word. Don't say the
Don't,
D
I'll
word.
try not to say the D word.
But yeah, you need to have enough tag teams there. You're starting to get there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially now that the factions have been thankfully broken up. Some of them are still intact, right? Like,
Yeah. So, I mean, you have the opportunity to make a women's tag team division. And I think that solves a lot of what to do with the mid-card for now. But there's other things, and this is, again, a big WWE thing, that they need to look back on what was done in the 80s. Tournaments, like, do these opens, these things that aren't titles forever.
They're doing that on NXT with the men.
Yeah. The Dusty Rhodes Classic.
Which was excellent. But they did the Battle Royal recently with the women on NXT. Like that Carmella ended up winning so she could do the number one contender against Bayley.
Yeah.
And I think that was good, and I'd love to see more of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, switch it up.
Switch it up. It's Bayley's eventually going to work her way through every single person in the roster until she eventually gets to Asuka, and then Asuka takes the title.
Yeah.
Because Asuka is the only legitimate wrestler who isn't hurt right now. Like, Dana could potentially be pushed as that person, but Dana's recovering from pec surgery.
Yeah.
And I think Carmella could do it, but I think Carmella's going to get moved up eventually when Enzo and Cass get moved up.
Yeah. I also think that just in general, the characters, they need to go deeper on these characters. We need some of these, like, really insane heels. Like, if you had Asuka be like the women's wrestling version of Randy Orton,
Yes.
where she's literally like, I'm like the legend
I
killer.
am crazy. I am going to kill you.
Yeah, like, give me some depth here. Like, because a lot of them, like, you know, I'm really happy with Sasha and what she's doing, but like for some of these other wrestlers, like, they need a little bit more depth to their character because that adds story to the mid card.
I think if you're going to start talking about depth, you talk about Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
Because she was like bubblegum and sunshine and blue tutus and sparkles and everything was great, and then all of a sudden she's heel. And if you had told me at any moment, like, which one of these wrestlers is most likely to turn heel, she would be the last one I picked.
Oh my God.
Because it was so just generic.
Yeah.
And generic cheerleader happy. And I'm like, this is the kind of shit you end up seeing on the main roster. What is this doing down here? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool.
Who is this? Like,
this is awesome.
Yeah, no, she is slowly but surely becoming one of my favorite characters. She still needs a little bit of work technically.
She does.
But like, you can get there.
Yeah.
Especially-
It's the charisma is the hard part to teach.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean-
as we've learned with Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
You also got to give props to Brittany's fave, Dana Brooke. She's...
I'm like so torn,
You
right?
said you started to respect her last time.
I
but
did. I think she's great on the mic. It comes back to that same point we just made. It's
She's
the charisma.
polarizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very polarizing as a character. But she's good on the mic, and I think if you put her by herself, she's not as strong. But pairing her with Emma has been really good for both of them.
Yeah,
because
because,
I don't
like-
think there's a lot of depth there for either of them, but
Yeah.
together they work really well.
Yeah, I think Emma started out really wonky and really without any charisma, but then I think her
She had
match...
that dancing thing, and
Yeah,
then got moved up to the
God.
main roster, and then came down.
Yep.
Which was funny because they actually like called out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, no, don't think that getting promoted is all good because it didn't work for me. Those fans have no idea what they want. It's
Yeah.
like, whoa.
Damn.
I want to see some more of sort of the classic archetypes you see in the men's division templates. Like I don't feel like I've seen the women's version of a brawler yet, right? I haven't seen the women's version of Dean Ambrose because Bayley is Cena, not Ambrose, right? I want the fucking screw loose version of the Never Say Die women's wrestler, right? We're getting there. Like, Nia Jax is kind of basically just doing the Big Show thing.
Yeah.
I want women luchadors. Or
Yeah?
Yeah,
like,
I want
like
women
you,
luchadors.
Like you have Sexy Star on Lucha Underground, and she's excellent,
Amazing.
right? And her whole thing is being like, women can be anything.
Yep.
Like, if we're trying so hard to build up luchadors in WWE, why don't we try and do that again with the women? Or is
Yep.
it just a matter of luchadors have to be able to fight other luchadors?
So how long do we think this takes, right? Because we're just now talking about how they finally let a woman be heel, right? Like in the non-Mean Girls way, right? Because when Nikki was always flippant, but when she was sort of heel-like, she would be in that Mean Girls way, right? Like, oh, Brie, you have to be my assistant now. And, oh, sorry, love you, blowing kisses, whatever, right? Like, that wasn't true heel. What Charlotte's doing is true heel. How long is it going to take for us to get more than the first true heel.
I think, honestly, it'll happen a lot sooner. I think getting this over the initial hump was the hardest part.
Like getting Charlotte being Charlotte.
Letting Charlotte be Charlotte
and
having Sasha be over with the crowd, that was the first step. And I think from here, as they continue to sell merchandise, as they start to, have people keep their butts in the seats and not go use the bathroom during the women's matches, that's when things will start to change.
Oh, man. If we get current heel or even more layered heel version of Charlotte versus whatever version of Bayley we get.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Oh my god.
But I think as far as the depth that you're talking about, I think a lot of that will happen on NXT first. And we'll start to get that more. Because the Nia Jax thing, you're not going deep enough. Be Mankind. Be Abyss. Go
off on the deep end.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Go crazy. Go.
Where's our jeans and tank top and hands taped female wrestler? It
was supposed to be Becky, and then they went with the whole steampunk thing.
Right, but
Yeah, because she was like the rocker
Yeah.
girl or whatever.
Give me the grungy, dirty, but not dirty in like a lewd way.
They've got that Jersey girl.
Yeah.
Like that's like close, right?
All right, yeah. So for me, let's just go around and say like the one thing we kind of hope to see over the next 6 months to a year at the women's division, right? So I'll start off and just finish my thought on the whole depth and different templates of characters, right? Like I want to see that rugged female character that isn't just, oh, since she's built stronger looking, she's implicitly rugged. Like I want one that makes me feel like that character's rugged, Like I want that Ambrose, but in her own way. It doesn't, don't just say people seem to like that Ambrose shit and then give me a female version of that, right? And definitely don't make it be some storyline sister thing because that would just be repulsive.
I'd like to see multiple storylines with the women carried to fruition. I think right now the biggest thing we're seeing is you have Charlotte versus whoever she's bickering with, and then you've got this kind of like, we still have Naomi and Tamina in the picture. Mm-hmm. But I want to see a clear divide on those storylines. It's kind of like when you see, like, here's the title picture for the Intercontinental title. Here's the U.S. title. Here's this. And those storylines don't have any overlap whatsoever. And part of it is they only have so many women that they can push on the main roster. I think that'll be a natural change as more of them get moved up.
Yep.
But that's the thing that I want to see, where you can have multiple strong storylines with all of their women wrestling.
I'd also like Total Divas to be done.
Yes, me too.
Actually, that was going to get to my point, which was...
sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I think the women's division and Total Divas needs absolute rebranding.
Mm-hmm.
And so
get rid of the word diva. That's like number one, I think, what we all want to see.
Yeah,
right?
I think we all agree.
We don't mention it because that's the obvious one.
Yeah.
Like, stop calling them divas.
But, I mean, that kind of brings up the point of, like, if you change the Divas division... My thought would be you would need to change Total Divas, and I think that's for the good, because right now it feels a lot like these really tired, played out new housewives of such and such, as opposed to, I'd rather have a reality show that is based on them being on the road, on just, like, take them seriously. Yeah. Like, I think the Divas kind of...
Like Breaking Grounded, but not in that serious of a connotation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like I would much rather a full rebranding of the Total Divas show.
I feel like that is actually extremely likely given where Nikki and Brie are right now. Because Nikki's likely never wrestling again. Mm-hmm. She had crazy neck surgery for some herniated disc issue, and it's very likely she's not wrestling.
Yeah.
Brie is probably done because she wants to have vegan goat-faced babies with Daniel Bryan.
Right.
So this would be a good time for them to stop the show. The problem is now we're working with old-time cable networks, and I have no idea what the contracts are on that.
Yeah, so that's why I think that if they completely rebrand it and change it, there's still an opportunity there, and actually an opportunity to make a really good show.
You could actually just take what you're suggesting, the rebranded show, and just put it on the network. Like, Vince has even said you don't care about ratings as much anymore, and they have a streaming network. Just take advantage of it.
Yep. So I think that'll about wrap it up for this week. If you like the podcast, you can find us on Twitter at OnTheHeelsWP and on Facebook /OnTheHeelsWP. Also, we're now on iTunes. You can download past episodes or subscribe to future episodes.
That's right. So give that Superwoman punch to the subscribe button, like us, follow us, and tell your wrestling buddies about the podcast. Feel free to tweet or message us random wrestling stuff you have, suggestions, ways Total Divas could go or Total Women's Wrestling could go. We'll factor in those topics to maybe future episodes.
Tune into our next episode where we'll be recapping Raw and NXT, Thank you so much for listening to On the Heels Wrestling Podcast, where we will forever ask the eternal question, will Roman ever connect with the audience? Or will he just eat tater tots?
He's got to go heel. He's got to go heel and do a better job of being a heel than Sheamus. Because, man, that guy just didn't do anything with that opportunity.
Tell me how you really feel, right?
I hate all of them.
He's got to double down on tater tots. Let's go full tots.
On the Heels Wrestling Podcast.